Welcome into the 51st edition of the Cleveland Sports Realm. That's right, 51st edition. And we'll do this one in honor of Chris Gokong, former Browns linebacker, taking it a little far back here to the, say 2010, 11, or 12 era of the Cleveland Browns. I'm Jerome, and tonight we have Rob, who's become pretty much our regular third co-host, fills in from time to time when Kevin and I are unable to do it. He does a very admirable job every time, and we're glad to have him back here. And then, of course, never missed an episode. He's been here for all 51 of them. You guys don't get to see him, but you do love him, and that is producer Derek on the other side of the glass. So,
and 1 year, you forgot to say 1 year next week.
Next week is our year anniversary of the program. So
CSR, baby, 1 year.
So we've been in the realm for a year, huh?
That's right. Welcome to our realm, baby.
All right. So, well, it's hard to believe because it feels like it just ended, but tonight we are recording this on Tuesday, October 21st here, right around 7:30 p.m. is when we're beginning, and there's something else beginning on the calendar already. It's hard to believe. The NBA season is back, and it's also a big night for the NBA as they are back on NBC for the first time since 2002. 23 years they bid, and they got it back. So congratulations to NBC on all their success. And they actually put together a nice panel of broadcasters, in my opinion. If you're tuned in to that this evening, you'll see Carmelo Anthony in the studio along with Tracy McGrady. They poached Reggie Miller from TNT. Well, obviously, TNT doesn't have the broadcasting rights anymore. So that's all going on.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. I think you got a nice crop of players there that really know the game inside and out. So that's good. Absolutely.
And NBC seemed very excited to have the NBA back. And I think it's good for the NBA, just to be honest, because for viewers on your TV, if you're just a little bit old school like I tend to be, as you like to let me know.
Very much NBC, so, with everything.
NBC is easier to find on your television a lot of times than TNT is. So I think this is a good deal for the NBA. And then obviously, if you're also a fan of the program inside the NBA, which was, multiple-time award Emmy winning on TNT, that program is still going to be carried. ESPN bought the rights to that individual program, so you'll still get Ernie, Shaq, Chuck, and Kenny on your ESPN TV set. And in fact, they will be a part of the broadcast for our team tomorrow, the Cleveland Cavaliers, as they kick off against the New York Knicks. So that leads me into that leads us into that, as the Cavs are ready to kick it off. Real quick on that, we got to attend, thanks to our buddy, shout out Matt Passerell, Cavs season ticket holder. We got to attend, Rob and I both did, the Cavs season ticket holder kickoff event last Thursday, I believe that was, right?
Yeah, it was.
Last Thursday evening at Public Hall, and it was a fun time. Got to hear from the entire roster and President of Basketball Ops, Kobe Altman, as well as Coach Kenny Atkinson. So
yeah, it was fun.
It was a nice event, and they're ready for the season, and so are we now. So let's dive into that, Rob. I'd say, in my personal opinion, and I'd like to know your thoughts on this, I ought to believe this is probably the highest expectations going into a Cavaliers season since the last LeBron James team. Thoughts on that?
I would think. I mean, I definitely would think, and I think if you're following the Cavs at this point, you're probably a little impatient. You went the play-in exit was kind of disappointing. That team had a lot of life to them, and when they got bounced, I think that was 21. That was disappointing. That was before they acquired Mitchell. Then the Knicks series was pretty much inexcusable to get bounced like that in 5 games like they did when they were the higher seed. Then you went right into the next year where they lost to the Celtics. That was pretty expected, had some injuries going on. And then last year with the Pacers. And, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of people wanted to bring up the injury thing on that front too, but I really didn't think it was excusable to lose to the Pacers when you were the best team in the East all year. So yeah, I think this is definitely a very high expectation season. I also wanted to comment on when you mentioned the the event last week. It was fun, but with those high expectations, I think this team should be under a lot of scrutiny because even last week, and I said it to everybody, we were there and like everyone's, it is supposed to be a cheery, fun event. They're talking about events going on in the city, what the team is doing for the city, and it is fun. But when it comes down to brass tacks, I kind of wanted to hear like from Kobe Altman, from Kenny Atkinson, and the team, like what's your plan to avoid the disappointment you've had in the postseason the last couple of years? Nobody really got down to brass tacks like that, but if I was conducting the interview, I definitely would have. And yeah, I think that it's just kind of ridiculous that they got bounced last year so early in the second round. I was pissed off about it, and I'm ready for them to be better this year. And I think, I would say highest expectations for sure. The East is wide open, and they need to capitalize on that. I mean, the Knicks are probably their best competition in the East this year, so yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I completely agree with you with the expectations being super high. In fact, former Cavalier LeBron, of course, weighed in on it, as he likes to weigh in on everything. And he chimed in and said that he believes that there's no team across league-wide that has more pressure on him this year than the Cavaliers. And I would say that's probably true, but I also put the Knicks in there because they also, I think, have those same level of expectations. I mean, they went, to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and they fired their coach. So
yeah,
obviously, expectations in the Big Apple are high as can be too. So I would say the Cavs and the Knicks share the right to the most pressure on them league wide.
I don't agree with that, actually. I think the Cavs are a little bit higher because of the success they had in the regular season last year. A lot of people were putting them on the same level as Oklahoma City. Some people put them above Oklahoma City in this city, and that obviously when the postseason came down to it, that wasn't the case. Clearly, of the two, actually there was 360 win teams last year, but of the two that were the two top seeds, one was better than the other. And you heard a lot of people all season last year, I don't see how this Cavs team can lose. We're so deep. You had guys like Ty Jerome coming in being quite effective. I said that when it comes to the postseason, really good coaches are going to be able to coach around a player like Ty Jerome, and that's exactly what happened. They're going to be able to shut down as defenses zero in on him. If he's going to draw more attention, they're going to send two guys at him, and that's exactly what happened. He got shut down. So I just look at a lot of the ins and outs of the Cavs team, and it was just extremely disappointing for what you put out in the regular season. You had the highest or second highest rated offensive efficiency for an NBA team ever, and you still got bounced in horrible fashion against the Pacers. So yeah, I would say that the expectations are a little bit higher in Cleveland than they might be in New York right now, for sure, in my opinion.
I would disagree with that only for the fact that I think that the Cavs and Knicks ironically, they followed pretty similar trajectories in the fact that they were both pretty awful for, the Knicks actually being awful longer because they were awful the whole time that LeBron was here, the second go around with that. And they both
they had Carmelo for a year or two, I think. I don't know. I can't remember that off the top of my head. Keep going.
Well,
sorry.
I'm going to say I disagree because the Melo era was just a little bit, it was right. His era in New York, he was exiting as like maybe a year or two overlap as Bron came back here to Cleveland. But anywho, so then they both get kind of good at the same time, and then obviously they faced each other in that playoff series that you had brought up a couple of minutes ago, and we thought that they were evenly matched if the Cavs were actually in fact better. And it didn't show in that playoff series. Well, then...
Yeah, but they were the higher seed.
Right.
They were the higher seed. They should have won, and they were the better team in the regular season. And following that, since then, they have been the better team in the regular season. No, not the following year, but last year. by all accounts, the Cavs were a better team in the regular season than the Knicks were. And when it came down
in fact, I don't think the Cavs lost to the Knicks a singular time in the regular season.
That's what I'm saying. No, I think they did once, but I'm not going to argue about that. What we will argue about, though, is clearly I think the Cavs, we've given them a pass in this city for the last couple years. I think we've used the injury excuse. It's time for, injuries to not take part in it, because the Celtics series I'll give the injury excuse for. That's fine. Last year, I'm not excusing whatever happened. Like, that was, Mitchell suited up for all the games, albeit maybe a couple of them on a bum ankle. But, I was frustrated because it does feel like sometimes Mitchell, when the going gets tough, can say, oh, I got a bum ankle or I got a bum knee. And I know I'm not criticizing Donovan Mitchell. He's been a great player for us. But at the end of the day, I'm just frustrated, and I want to see them at least reach an Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, and when you talk about Donovan Mitchell, in my opinion, he's a player that has higher expectations around him than anybody on the Knicks does. I think Brunson maybe had a better year the last year or two. But as far as Mitchell goes, Mitchell's now been a 1 seed multiple times in his career, and he hasn't gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals off that. And everyone who watches the NBA knows that it is a player-driven league, and you're really only going to go as far as of course, you have to have depth, and you have to have good pieces in a starting lineup around a star. But your star is pretty much going to drive how your team goes. Look, the league MVP won the finals last year. Well, if you look at the history of the NBA, you can't really name a time where a top 5 player at that current time didn't win the championship.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. Continue.
No, I was just going to say that I think when you look at the Cavs and the Knicks, back to the original point, when you compare both rosters, when you compare the top tier players, the Cavs, I think, have higher expectations around them. They were the top seed last year. They had things going for them. Like I said, the highest rated offensive efficiency team ever, or second highest. Knicks didn't have that. They have the DPOY now. They have a player like Garland who needs to take another step. They have Jared Allen, who's supposedly a top 10 center in the league. I think there's pieces on the Cavs team that put them as a team that has higher expectations all around than the Knicks, because when an NBA historian looks at these two teams and sees you're comparing Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell, they're going to say, well, right now at this point in time, Donovan Mitchell should have reached at least the Eastern Conference Finals before Jalen Brunson had.
And it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And so with all that being said, and there's a lot of valid points and a lot of validity to the arguments you just made. With all that being said, is this a finals or bust for the 2025 or 26 Cavs? Not to win the finals, but let's say get there. If they don't get there, I think it is.
Yeah, I think so. I think they have to get there 100%. You just heard my whole argument. I'm definitely saying they have to get there. I think that if they get there and they're up against, let's say, a team like Oklahoma City, who's absolutely rolling like they were last year, I think, it was going to be hard to beat Oklahoma City last year. The Pacers, credit to them, they played great basketball and they came really close. But once Halliburton went down, obviously, in that Game 7, it was abundantly clear for those 40 minutes who was going to win. But, exactly. My point is, though, if they're up against a team that's absolutely rolling like an Oklahoma City, or if the Lakers get going, and LeBron turns the clock back, or if a team like the Rockets can get there and KD's just going, and there's one, or, again, like I said, the Thunder and SGA and Holmgren are just going off, there comes a point where I will taper my expectations. But as far as the East goes right now, you really only have the Pacers. Halliburton's out for a long time. I don't know when he'll get back.
He tore his Achilles in June. It's October,
right? Yeah.
I don't see him probably playing unless they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe he'd be able to suit up, but then even then, how rusty he's going to be and how effective he's going to be, let's just write them off.
Yeah, I don't want to totally write them off, because I do really love their brand of basketball, and if he does get back, he could be. And hey, we wrote them off last year in the second round. We said this is Cavs in 5 easily, and then they beat us.
Yeah, we.
Everyone was smiling with glee whenever they saw that series come up. But then they obviously beat us, and I remember I ran it on this very podcast about how Tyrese Halliburton's a dog, and the Pacers play an excellent brand of basketball, and I stand on that. But I think you look at the Celtics. With Tatum out, it's just going to be hard for them to really do anything.
Plus, they got rid of a lot of other guys. Like Porzingis is not there anymore. Drew Holiday's not there anymore. Like they kind of dismantled that team.
Yeah.
I mean, Jaylen Brown's still there, but he's like the one, key contributor holdover. That roster's very different.
Yeah, I think they are a generally well-coached team, though, and they can definitely, if Tatum gets back, Tatum did. Well, there is rumblings that Tatum could be back, in the spring, sometime in the spring next year. Which, if he does, I'm not going to write them off. My whole point is though that the Knicks are really the biggest threat as far as I'm looking in the East right now. And yeah, I think that the Cavs absolutely, to my point earlier, they should beat the Knicks by all accounts. They should absolutely beat the Knicks this year if they see them in the playoffs. And if the Cavs don't reach the finals, it is going to be incredibly disappointing again. And I think at that time, then it's probably time to look elsewhere. We've had this core four going for a while, and if they can't get it done this year, then, it's probably time to get somebody else to stand by Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now looking at the Celtics, Jaylen Brown's obviously got to step up big. He's going to be the one this year. They still have Hauser, who was in Pritchard, still there. They did go and get Anthony Simons from the Blazers.
Anthony, and I think he's a good scorer. He's a good shooter of the basketball. I've been in multiple arguments with I think he's going to keep the Celtics afloat in the East. I'm not going to say that they're a big contender, but he's definitely going to keep them afloat in the East.
And Derek White's still around.
Yeah,
but
and he's obviously a big threat. And Pritchard, I can't remember if you mentioned him just now.
I did.
Yeah,
Throw his name out there.
Pritchard is the reigning sixth man of the year. He's a really, really good player. He's a great piece. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics can definitely still be competitive, and let's not forget they have an excellent coach. Yeah, I think that they could be competitive, but no, it's definitely finals or bust for the Cavs. I mean, look, you got this core four. You got Garland, Allen, Mobley, Mitchell. These are all guys that have been all-stars at some point. So, by all accounts, you have a team that's loaded with all-stars. You have 2 all-NBA players. Is anybody else in the East carrying that firepower right now?
I don't think so. And
maybe the Knicks with Brunson's been a multiple-time All-Star, and so has Cat. But other than that, well, I mean, they have really good role players around those guys. Like Josh Hart's still a really good player, but I don't.
Bridges is pretty good.
Yeah, Bridges is a very good player. He kind of had a rocky start to the season last year, but he got going. Yeah, I mean, I think in the Cavs, you bring in a piece like Lonzo Ball. Excuse me. And if he's healthy this year, he should be able to provide some really effective minutes. Dare I say, to the Ty Jerome praisers of last year, might even be a little bit more effective than Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome's a guy that needs the ball in his hands to kind of make noise. Lonzo Ball can obviously create probably a lot better than Ty Jerome can. So I definitely think that Lonzo can be a little bit more effective than Jerome if he's healthy. That guy is never healthy. He hasn't been healthy in like 4 years.
I was listening to 92.3 The Fan today, and Jeff Phelps pointed out that Lonzo What?
I said surprise. 92.3 The Fan.
Yeah,
we love our guys over there.
Jeff Phelps, what'd you say?
So we love our guys over there at 92.3. That's
right. Yeah. Jeff Phelps pointed out that Lonzo Ball has played 35 games out of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
That's rough. Now, if they can figure out how to keep him healthy, if they have to load manage and make up injuries or whatever they have to do to get him to the postseason, that's what's important.
Well, I think he had one of those injuries where I think it just wasn't getting treated correctly with his knee. If I recall correctly, I think that's what happened.
I know he had multiple knee surgeries.
Yeah, and I think he was on like the NFL version of like the pup list, or the NBA version of the NFL's pup list, like where he's like unable to perform or whatever. I don't think, like, I'm not asking Lonzo Ball to come in and be like, this incredible 25 or 20 point per game scorer. He just needs to be a guy that can provide 15 to 20 minutes, come in, like, play effective basketball, see the floor well, play semi-decent defense. He's a big guard. He's 6'5", he's 6'6". He's got the size. Like, he obviously has the instincts. So, and I think it does take a little bit of the pressure off him now that he just needs to be a bench piece. Because you got, really, wherever he's been on a lot of teams, he's kind of asked to do a lot.
Well, yeah, because when he was drafted second overall by the Lakers,
of course,
right off the
LeBronzo was the big thing.
Yeah, right off the bat, he was a starting guard, and then the Bulls traded for him, expecting him to be like the one of the stars.
He was with the Pelicans for a little bit too.
That's right. I forgot, because he did go in that
the Ingram deal.
Yes, and
the Davis deal.
Yeah, right.
The Ingram deal.
Yeah, Ingram was a piece of that as well. And so then he went there and he did whatever.
Yeah, I think when the Pelicans got him, they were like, okay, this guy, he can maybe take a step with us. And then
the Bulls traded for him, really expecting him to be like a huge star there, and it just never worked out for the Bulls.
Well, I think they wanted to pair him with DeRozan as like a combo guard,
It never worked
backcourt.
out, though. It did not work out in Chicago. And the good thing is, for the Cavaliers, it didn't, because if it had it worked out in Chicago, you're never able to trade Isaac Okoro straight up for Lonzo Ball. It just would not work that way. And so it's actually an ideal thing for the Cavaliers that they were able to buy low on him, essentially.
Yeah.
And the other factor there is, you pointed this out, they're not asking him to be the superstar. And when we were at that event last week, I believe it was Kenny Atkinson said he has never coached a better pure passer of the basketball. And that got me pretty excited, because he'd come off the bench and you're not even asking him to score that much. The Cavs have other good supporting pieces on that second unit that could score the basketball. If Lonzo could find them and play good defense, and then he adds a lot of length to your backcourt, because what's the big knock on the Cavs for years now with Darius and Donovan? Well, their backcourt's undersized. They're always criticized for that. So, so you're adding some length to your backcourt, and you can do. Kenny Atkinson could do a lot with that and mix and match different lineups up together, and I think it'll be very entertaining if he stays healthy, as we keep pointing out. That's the key caveat.
I also think that, when you talk about the Cavs' expectations, to bring it back a little bit, it's like, the Cavs are now the highest paid team in the NBA,
right?
As far as
they run the highest payroll.
Yeah, so you got guys like Mobley and Donovan Mitchell are both signed up for, and also I think Garland, for $200+ million deals. Like,
Garland's just a tick under, I believe, but yes.
Regardless, these guys are like, not only is in practice they have high expectations, but on the payroll they do too. So yeah, I definitely think, by all accounts, it's time for the Cavs to step up, And
absolutely. This is, to your point, and sorry to cut you off, I'm piggybacking off what you had to say. This is the highest payroll in NBA history.
Jeez.
So you better figure out a way to do it. Get to those finals, because, I hope it doesn't go like the other highest payroll in NFL history. We know how that went last year. It is ironic in this city, you have two teams with the highest payroll in their respective sports and one team with the bottom 5 payroll, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
Well, yeah. And the Cavs have always been willing to go out and pay guys when they're...
Dan's never been shy to open the wallet.
Yeah, you look at what the kind of money they were giving to guys that were around LeBron. Just, J.R. Smith was signed up for big money. Amon Shumpert, Tristan Thompson, these are all guys that signed extensions when they were acquired. Well, Tristan Thompson was drafted, but, when they were acquired by the Cavs, and the Cavs definitely opened the checkbook to go win a championship. I also think that's the thing is like Dan Gilbert's going to get impatient if this team doesn't pan out now because, he is paying these guys so much money.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I just think that, at this time for the Cavs, it's time to, I'm tired of being the preseason champs. And, we do know about that we know all about that with the Browns, but like a lot of guys, like we hear every year in the preseason, oh, this is the Cavs year. And last year it was the worst because the Cavs were getting really, really good in the regular season. And I feel like I had tapered my expectations a little bit, but everybody around me was like, oh, I don't see how the Cavs can lose this year. I don't see how they can lose.
Yeah, I'll fully admit I was one of those folks who was challenging you and pushing you back on that. You ultimately ended up being right. So I think as excited as I am for 7 o'clock tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden, as again we are recording this on Tuesday, October 21st, as excited as I am for the season to kick off at the world's most famous arena tomorrow night, I am tempering myself this year because I was crushed last year. I bought in. I was full-fledged ahead. I sat here on this podcast all year and talked about the championship and finals and yada, yada. I did it all winter long last year. And therefore, I learned a hard, valuable lesson last May. And that's why going into this year, I will not do that. I will not buy in. I need to see a lot. I'm expecting a lot. And I think we share a position here of, again, we've spent 25 minutes talking about it now, over 26 minutes. You better get to the finals. Highest payroll. You've had the core together for a while. You have your hand-picked coach. You didn't like JB. Kenny ultimately got you the same result last year, but they seem to really be high on Kenny. People around the league are really high on Kenny and his offensive system and this, that, and then the third. So with all that being said, I think if you're not expecting big things out of the Cavs this year and you're going to make excuses, then that's just wrong at this point. You can't. They've gotten past a point where we can baby them anymore.
Well, yeah, and I think it's like, I think that goes along with the injury thing. It's like, okay, how many, if you're going to say all year that you're the deepest team in the league, this depth is insane, then how can you say it's excusable to lose in the second round when even if you're injured, you have to turn to your depth, right? Like,
yeah.
And your depth, if it's the best in the league, should be able to handle a second round series. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, I think like the question is, okay, so, you can talk about it, but what do they actually do need to do from a basketball perspective to take the next step? I think a lot of it comes from, an efficient second unit. So that's, like we said, that's going to be kind of led around Lonzo Ball and how he can facilitate. And I think a lot of it is going, and we've been saying this for a while, but I think a lot of it depends on Evan Mobley taking another step and kind of giving Donovan Mitchell nights off when he needs to take nights off, because you've seen Mobley go from, 11 to 10 points per game, then up to 14 or 15. Now, I think last year was like 18 or 19.
He was all second NBA.
Yeah, I know.
Year,
that's what I'm saying. And he took another step, and, he was the DPOY, and he has been for a lot of years, like a phenomenal defensive player. But at this point, it's like, okay, now we see him take this next step. Where does he go next? Like he to make this a championship team, probably does need to get into that 23, 24, maybe 25 points per game kind of tier, and also at the same time maintain the same defense that he's playing. But yeah, just become a little bit more of an efficient scorer, be able to shoot from range a little bit better, which he has worked on in his game for a while now. To get, a little bit stronger. And I think what fans really want to see is to have him take that Giannis trajectory, which, I don't want to say that he can ever be what Giannis is, but if he can be 80% of what Giannis is, we'll take that. Because I think right now he's probably about 50 to 60% of what Giannis is. And, if he can...
Yeah, I would say probably 60 is a fair number to put on it.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis is a multiple-time MVP. He's a champion. He's probably a top 15 player of all time. So let's take it easy if we're going to say 60%. Mobley's a guy that was second team All NBA. I mean, these accolades around Giannis Giannis is again one of the greatest players of all time. And yeah, I think if we can get Mobley to, just that tier of, 25 points per game, then I think he's on that trajectory. The point is, I think that's what the Cavs need to do from a basketball perspective I think you need to run a little bit more of an offense around Mobley. It's a lot of years of asking Donovan Mitchell to do a lot. He was first team All-NBA last year. He has been an excellent scorer. But I think Donovan Mitchell understands that he's not going to be able to do it on his own. And Donovan Mitchell did put out, I think he said in a press conference today or something, that he doesn't ever want to be known as just the guy that scored the ball well. He wants to be a champion. And I think that's kind of a call to action from the guys around him. I also think, and, this is controversial. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But, the Cavs do need to, from a basketball perspective, they need to be tougher. They like to whine to the officials a lot. They had the thing last year where they had this chain, I think, and somebody snatched
junkyard.
And somebody snatched the chain from the Knicks. I think it was Josh Hart. Maybe it snatched the chain off of somebody. That's stuff that on a basketball court, you shouldn't be tolerated. Whoever did that should have been fouled hard the next play. And that's what happened when the Cavs lost a couple years ago to the Knicks. They were just physically imposed upon. So guys,
I can make the same argument for last year against the Pacers.
Well, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think that this is a team that when they go up against a really tenacious team, another team that's tenacious, they tend to stick their tail between their legs. And then you hear a lot about, the injuries. But, you got guys like last year, on the Pacers, an Andrew Nembhard, who's stepping up and playing extremely hard defense, shooting the ball well. And you don't hear that, we don't have, an all-star two-guard over Nembhard, because I wouldn't say Nembhard's an all-star. But, he's just a guy my point is he's a guy that goes out there and plays hard. And the Cavs seem to lack that a lot. They play good, they play a rhythmic version of basketball it can be really fun to watch, especially when their shots are falling from the outside. And they do have, Mobley and Allen have nice, rhythm together, and, they could toss each other and oop, and Donovan Mitchell can break down a defense really well and get inside and make a nice pocket pass to Evan Mobley, who's waiting on the other block. But when it comes down to it, when you got a guy like a Mitchell Robinson that's going to throw his ass into your hip and check you out of the paint,
right,
the Cavs tend to stick their tail in between their legs and whine about why they shouldn't have got a foul call right there. And our fans back them up, because our fans are right there on social media saying, the officials hate us. It's not an official's problem. I can promise you that.
Well, I think this is a long-winded way of saying, is this a call to action to Jared Allen to be more physical in the playoffs?
Well, I think Jared Allen, I think Evan Mobley, I think a lot of guys. I think Garland needs to get stronger, needs to not be so afraid to go in the lane as much. And when he does go in the lane, I think he needs to go kind of shoulder down, layup instead of some falling away floater, there's a lot of, I think the whole team can go really soft. And it's good that they have good chemistry. And, that they have, they like to fool around together, and that's great. And I'm happy they have that kind of chemistry.
That's important.
But
key element.
I want somebody on that team to say, if you foul my brother hard, I'm going to kill you. That's the kind of attitude that they need to have on the team. And I don't think that a guy like Evan Mobley or Jared Allen or Garland, I don't think they do have that mentality now. And I'm not saying that they can't get there, but you look at the most successful players ever. That's that Kobe, that MJ mentality. If you try and beat me on the basketball court, I am literally going to mentally kill you. I am going to kill you. That, and that's what the Cavs need to get to. You need to be killers on the court if you want to win championships. That's how you do it.
Well, looking at our rundown of topics here, that was You absolutely answered the next question, because the next question was, what do the Cavs need to do to take that next
No,
step?
I know. I saw that, and that's kind of what I was getting at is, I was looking at that. And, I mean, I think that, I think and all in all, to summarize, I think you need to run a little bit more through Mobley. Excuse me. I think you need to get a little bit more aggressive and tenacious. And I think you need to have a really, really strong second unit that's not so much worried about one guy like a Ty Jerome scoring and getting excited about that. But I think a unit that is working harmoniously together. And I think they can do that with Lonzo Ball leading the second unit. So
yeah, and I think, I think overall going into it, I like the second unit this year better than I did last year. I'm still curious to see when everybody's healthy. Does Strus get his starting spot back? I don't know. I wonder if Hunter, takes that while Strus is recovering from his offseason injuries and never looks back. That'll be interesting to see what Kenny does with that.
And and that's another good point, because I do think a lot of times, and it is funny, it's the age-old problem in the NBA, is like, well, why aren't you winning? Well, we don't have a versatile wing. We have good bigs, we have good guards, or we have really good bigs and our guards are solid, something like that. We just don't have a good wing. We don't have a good versatile wing that can defend and shoot. That's what everybody wants in the NBA. And now the Cavs do have that coveted position. And obviously the mold of that is a LeBron James, the one that can do it the best, maybe the best of all time. But that 3 position that can defend and give you 15 to 20 points a night, that's what the Cavs had lacked. I mean, like I said, a lot of teams lacked it. But if you really want to be a true championship contender, that's maybe the most vital position on the court. And I think that the Cavs do have that now in Hunter. And, he didn't – I'll give him a pass last year. He was a free agent acquisition.
Or trade deadline.
That's what I meant. But, yeah, he was a trade deadline acquisition. So, yeah, he didn't have an entire year to gel with the team. Now he's had a whole offseason, a lot of postseason and regular season action. He doesn't have an excuse this year. So, yeah, I think you have a versatile wing now that can defend and shoot. And I think that's really important heading into this.
So, if you were Kenny, would you start Hunter when everybody's healthy and bring Max off the bench?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I think so. I think it comes down to, like, a lot of guys will, unless Hunter says I'm more comfortable coming off the bench, because like that was always obviously the thing with like Jamal Crawford is like,
he was 6 months of our era,
or Lou Williams is like these guys, like, oh well, they obviously are skilled enough to be starters, but I mean, that some guys just want to come off the bench. If Hunter wants to come off the bench, by all means, do it. But I think Hunter's a better basketball player than Max Strus when it comes down to it.
Yeah, but everybody, and this is a thing in the NBA going back all the way to years and years and years ago, 30 years ago. Like, people make such a big deal about who the starters are. It doesn't really matter. Look at who's on the court in the final 2 minutes. That's who the coach trusts the most and values the most.
Yeah.
Who starts is so overrated in the NBA, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I agree to a degree. I do think that, when you get into the postseason, most coaches are cut down to a 7 or 8 man rotation at most. So I do think that a starting lineup has to work well together harmoniously. They have to understand how everyone's going to play. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I just don't. Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal if you start Hunter or Strus. I don't think it makes much of a difference either way. But I would start Hunter. I think, like I said, I'll say it again. He's a better basketball player in my opinion.
So I go back to the last Cavs team, the only Cavs team to ever win a title. Obviously, the world famous 3-1 comeback in 2016, and I think of, Amon Shumpert didn't start. But how valuable was he to that championship team? Majorly,
He was valuable. I mean, a lot of, him and J.R. Smith were obviously the two that were working in tandem together. Like, I think J.R. Smith obviously was the starter, and I think like even if you didn't have Shumpert on the roster, a lot of what he would have brought could have been made up from Smith. I know what you're gonna get at here. He's like an important part of the team, even though he wasn't a starter, and I understand that. I'm just saying that I think that there is like some room to breathe. Like I don't think like it's like insanely important that you start either Strus or Hunter.
Real quick on Amon Shumpert, I actually saw in a press release that he's going to be back with the Cavs. Not on the court, but he is replacing Boobie Gibson as a post-game show host with Austin Carr on the FanDuel Sports Network. So Amon Shumpert will be back in the organization in some sort of capacity, and we'll get to hear him break down the game this pre and post this season.
Well, that makes sense because I did see him. I was out to eat somewhere down in Shaker Heights. I forget what the complex is where Brassica's at in Cleveland. If you're from Cleveland, Shaker Heights. What's that complex down there? Anyway, I saw Amon Shumpert walking around.
Van Aken district?
Yeah, Van Aken. That's it.
Yeah.
I saw him walking around in Van Aken. So, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know that, but thank you for the info.
Yeah, he'll be on the and I guess real quick, since we went down that road, the Cavs broadcast team will be pretty much the same with the addition of Amon Shumpert and Boobie Gibson not brought back by the FanDuel Sports Network. I know he still has his Cavs podcast on Big Play, and obviously we had Nick Padone on from Big Play, and I believe Boobie's still involved over there, but he will not be working for the FanDuel Sports Network. But your TV broadcasters will still be John Michael, and Brad Doherty will be doing most of the games, and Austin Carr will do some still as well, Mr. Cavalier himself. So,
hey, bud, they could have you and me calling the game as long as they win the games. I'm not too picky on who's calling it.
Well, I understand your point. I know there's people like me who get into the broadcasters, and so I'm just a little bit of PSA, nonetheless.
Yeah, and I like Boobie Gibson a lot. I think he's brought a lot to the city and to the team, and he clearly enjoyed his time when he played here in Cleveland. He definitely supports his Cavs still, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Shump will be back, but I guess back to on the court stuff. We pretty much broke down this Cavalier roster.
Yeah, and you had said like right there on the rundown, you talked about Orlando, Detroit, Milwaukee. Are they threats to get in? And then I still want to touch on the West a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to get quickly there. Hold on one second. I did want to finish. I had one more question for you. Cavaliers bench. We talked about Alonzo Ball. Dean Wade, I think, will still be a key part of that. Larry Nance, I think the big key with him is very much in the Alonzo Ball. It's core to things is staying healthy. If Larry's healthy, he can still give you pretty good defense. He could shoot the ball much better from the perimeter. And I think overall he's could be a key contributor off the bench. And then Thomas Bryant. This is a guy who gave the Cavs hell last year in the Pacers series. So real quick, if you want to touch on that before we get on the rest
and I think what you said, that those are good names, that we have still on the roster. But you look at a guy like Thomas Bryant, and when I'm talking about bringing that tenacity, he's clearly a guy that obviously can try and bring that, but that's still something that he needs to rub off on Mobley and Allen. And the reason I didn't mention his name obviously is because I think that's more of a problem with our starters like Mobley and Allen and Garland when these guys can get a little soft. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that Thomas Bryant can be an enforcer, can be the kind of guy that's going to hip check you and say, don't do that to my team. But I think the whole team needs to develop more of a killer mentality. And again, Larry Nance, that is a guy that obviously he can rebound the ball well. He plays in a good inside game. He can shoot from the perimeter a little bit better than he could in his first tenure here. But I think a lot of the second unit and the quality of play that they put out is going to be pretty much riding on the coattails of, if Lonzo's a really good facilitator and can do the things that we mentioned.
They claimed he was.
I know he is. I mean, I know if you've watched Lonzo Ball play basketball and basketball, he's a good facilitator.
And I agree. He's a hell of a passer.
And that's what I'm saying, is that if he can do what we're asking him to do, I think it is a very dangerous second unit. I mean, I think he's obviously going to free up space for a guy like Sam Merrill to hit some more open shots.
Absolutely.
Like,
Who's, the Cavs believed in Sam. I mean, they gave him $10 million a year. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think the second unit can be dangerous. I think it does start a lot with Lonzo Ball when the second unit is going. And if Lonzo Ball, and again, like we said, we're not asking, that's not much to ask out of Lonzo Ball compared to what he's been asked to do previously in his career. So
especially in Chicago.
100%. I think if he can facilitate and get the second unit playing harmoniously, I think guys like Dean Wade, Sam Merrill can hit open shots. I think if you get a guy like Thomas Bryant who can really set the tone, as far as an aggression standpoint goes, Larry Nance can rebound the ball well. Yeah, I think it can be a really good second unit. So I think top to bottom just goes back to the original point of what we said, is like, they have the pieces in place. Like, you've brought it, you've made the acquisition.
Finals or bust.
You have a DeAndre Hunter, like I already said. You have the guy that can play the 3 position really well. Like, you have the pieces in place. You have to get there now. It's about putting the rubber on the road and going. It's enough about, well, if we didn't have this injury, like we have a good second unit that they can back up guys in the starting lineup. Like, there's no reason that, Garland being out for an extended period of time should set us back, even a little bit to start the season. Like, we have the pieces in place, so you got to go. And they don't need to win 60 games or even be the first seed, but yeah, they need to go to the finals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And quite frankly, I don't care if they win 60 games or not again. I really, really don't. And when we talk about, if we win 60 games, like that doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
No, I agree with you, but that also is my expectation. I would think that with everything we just said, we spent the whole last 3/4 of the hour on here. I expect them to win close to 60 games. It doesn't have to be, but I don't see, with everything that we've just talked about in place, I don't see them, if they don't win, let's say at least 55 games, then I think that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean,
it better be somewhere between 55 and 65 is what I'm saying. That's a big range, but
yeah, I mean, I definitely think
that's a problem.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about who the Cavs will be playing tomorrow night. The Knicks.
We already talked about them.
No, we did, but we're going to talk about the game a little bit in the sense of it'll be interesting tomorrow night. Obviously, the NBA putting this as their, one of their national spotlight games to kick off the season. Knicks going to come in without Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart. Cavs are going to come in without Max Strus and Darius Garland and a questionable DeAndre Hunter. Obviously, no, you don't want to jump to overreactions, but I really would still like to see the Cavs. We just talked about it. No excuse for injuries. I really want to see them go to the world's most famous arena and compete in the ball game tomorrow. And I am very excited to watch it, by the way.
Yeah, I definitely think it should be. I think it definitely should be a good game. I think it's going to be competitive. It's going to be loud and a great atmosphere inside Madison Square Garden. And yeah, I think the Cavs, if they take care of what they need to take care of, they should come away with a win. I think they're the better team. So from top to bottom, when you look at the two rosters, I think they're the better team.
So that'll be interesting, and we will be watching that tomorrow night and reacting with it next week. Let's talk about the Cavs' competition outside of New York. Detroit, do you believe in them? They had a nice run last year. Obviously, the thing with them that'll be interesting is we saw this here in Cleveland firsthand. Jamie Bickerstaff can get you from garbage to good, but then once he goes against the really other good teams, that's where he seems to plateau as a coach. So I'm curious to see if the Pistons maybe get past the first round this year. I still think they'll be a threat. Obviously, Cade Cunningham's getting better and better.
Yeah, and I think these, we had touched on, like, when we were kind of going through it, I was saying, like, you look at Boston, they brought in Anthony Simons. He's a guy that can definitely make up some of the offensive production that they're going to lack with Tatum. The the Knicks are obviously the number one threat, but I do think a team like Detroit is scrappy, and they can maybe be this year's Pacers. If they're going to be a team that you need to coach well against, especially a guy like Cade Cunningham, who it seems like he's well on his way to being a top 10 player in the league. He's really, really good. He's really creative scorer. He can score at all levels. He's big. He can rebound the ball really, really well for a guard. And he can facilitate pretty well too. So yeah, he pretty much he's a threat everywhere on the floor. And yeah, I think it makes, as I said, it's a star-driven league, so I think it makes the Pistons a really dangerous team. The Cavs should still be able to get by them. I see we have Milwaukee up there, and I do want to say for them, I don't know what you think of them, but I mean, I think as long as you have a guy, and I gave Giannis his props earlier in the show, I think as long as you have a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo leading your team, I think you always do have a chance. I know that they lack in pieces around him.
I was going to say the core around him has dropped off a cliff.
Right.
Now, I will say I thought that was a big move for them to add Miles Turner, who I think is one of the most dynamic centers in the league. He can play inside, outside. He plays tremendous defense. He can shoot the hell out of the ball, and he's still a threat down low. That was a good add by the Bucks. But Lillard, I'm not even going to say it's a huge loss because he really didn't do much last year. He was hurt, and then when he came back, he kind of stunk.
Yeah,
and
he got hurt in the playoffs
too.
again.
Yeah,
I mean, he was hurt the whole time. So, yeah, I mean, listen, again, Giannis is one of the greatest players ever, and I think if he can elevate the guys around him, then yeah, they have a chance. Another team you have up there I think is really interesting this year. A lot of my friends who don't like the Cavs have said they're going to be on top of the East is Orlando.
I am very high on Orlando. I actually, back to several episodes, maybe 10 to 12 episodes ago, Kevin and I were kind of doing an NBA off-season one, and we had touched on some news and notes around the league, and I've been speaking highly of Orlando for a while, and I think Desmond Bane is a big pick.
That was a big acquisition.
And they gave up a crap load to get him, so they're expecting big things. And I think Orlando
Wagner will be healthy again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Orlando could give teams hell, and they could be that team that takes the next step.
Well, they defend really, really well.
And they're tough.
Yeah.
They're physical. They're like...
They gave us hell in the 7-game series 2 years ago.
Sure, we had to have a heroic effort by Donovan Mitchell and come back from 18 points down just to get to the Boston Celtics that year.
Yeah, I think, and again, a guy like Banchero, who's a number 1 overall pick, if he can take another step, I mean, they're going to be really, really hard to beat this year. I do think the Cavs obviously should beat them, as I already pointed to during this episode, but yeah, they're a really interesting team. They'll definitely be a top 3 to 4 seed in the East, and they'll be a tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, looking at it preseason, obviously there's some team on here who's going to have a hell of a jump that neither you nor I or any other prognosticators all around the country are going to see. But I think going into it preseason, as the season gets underway, I think we covered everybody who's going to be a legitimate
contender,
or threat, whatever. Again, there is going to be a team, folks. I promise you that Rob nor myself or anybody else see.
I think that and I know you're going to disagree with this one, that's okay. I think if the Sixers are healthy again, they can potentially make some noise.
Oh, I got a hard disagree on that.
Well, they still have Maxey, who's a really good player.
Yeah, I drafted him in fantasy. I think
he's a phenomenal player. Look, I know you don't like the guy, but Embiid, and a lot of people don't because non-ethical hoops, whatever, scores the basketball. If he's healthy, I think that they can make some noise. I saw Paul George is going to be out for an extended period of time to start the year.
There's a shocker.
Right. But I think if they can get healthy and they start clicking, I think that's a team that could be dangerous. I mean, Maxey's a young rising star. He's probably the best guard, maybe the best guard in the East outside Brunson and Mitchell.
Maxey's unbelievable.
I don't know. Am I not thinking of somebody? I think he's probably the best guard in the East outside Mitchell and Brunson.
I would agree. I'm going up and down the conference.
Maybe Trae Young, you can make an argument for.
You could make an argument for Trae Young. I think Maxi's probably better at this point, though.
Yeah, I think so,
If you
too.
go off, it's a what have you done for me lately business in sports in the last year or so, Maxi's been better. Maybe a year and a half. A team that I think that could be a lot better this year, and I know you're probably going to disagree with me on this. They got Brandon Ingram last year at the trade deadline. They didn't have Emmanuel Quickly almost the entire year. You get a RJ Barrett back healthy. I think Toronto could be better. I don't know if I want to put them in a contender category, but I don't see Toronto being a cellar dweller like they were last year.
Yeah, I could see them. Being a play into a last seed in the East kind of team.
They're like probably what you think of the 76ers at their peak. That's probably what I think of Toronto.
Well, I think they have a good culture in Toronto. I think they really do, especially, even before the years that they had brought in Kawhi. That's a team that they play hard-nosed basketball. They compete hard. They play good defense. And, yeah, I think it's like, it's kind of, you look at a team like Toronto and they have like the opposite thing of what the Browns have going on, in my opinion, is like it's a team that has a good culture all around. So I think if you get some good pieces in there, yeah, they can definitely make some noise. And like you said, they do have some pieces. So yeah, it's a good pick. So your sleepers, Toronto, and mine is
Philly
Sixers. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've
What about the West?
I was going to just say we've dissected the hell out of the Eastern Conference for the last for the length of the entire episode, including a deep dive on the Cavs. Let's talk about the West, which I have to believe that Oklahoma City's still a threat. Houston, LeBron and the Lakers. I guess LeBron's not going to play till Thanksgiving at the earliest, I heard. But you still have Luka there. Dallas, they're going to be interesting with, landing Cooper Flag, obviously. And then who knows about Anthony Davis and Kyrie. You never know. Kyrie, no chance he's going to probably play for a while.
Yeah. Well, you look at the West, and it's really like a hoop lover's dream out there, and that's kind of been the case for most of our life.
Sorry to cut you off. I guess Houston has to be considered in there. They were so good last year.
Yeah, that's 100%. And they added a top 10 player.
Yeah, they were a 2 seed last year. Minnesota, I don't think, like the West.
They're not going anywhere. Yeah, the West is loaded.
Yeah,
you can think of and then the Kings are going to be an interesting team as well out west. The Warriors are still, a lot of people think the Warriors can make some noise this year again. Like, I don't really foresee the West falling off. I don't even know.
Memphis was, if Ja gets, he misses a lot of time though.
Listen, it's hard to say. You definitely have Oklahoma City sticks out as, okay, they're probably better than everybody right now. But
the leader of the pack.
But then you look at everyone else and you have, I would say, the next tier, you probably go Denver and Houston are probably the next tier.
2 and 3, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. Then I would probably say Minnesota, Los Angeles.
Lakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Clippers are still there. That's another team we didn't even mention that they can be really competitive this year.
Yeah, their core is, aged rapidly, but I don't think, like, in the West, the thing is, like, you can go top to bottom, and there's, like, no team that I'm going to officially say, wow, they are going to suck. They are going to be horrid. Like, they have no chance to compete.
Yeah.
Versus, like, the East, I can roll, like, 4 or 5 teams already, like, in my mind,
Charlotte.
wow, they suck.
Yeah.
They have no chance. Most nights they're going to show up, and they're going to get their asses kicked.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. And I think, I definitely think Dallas is a really interesting team this year. It's funny, I was looking at a graphic today that said the most interesting teams to watch, and Dallas was in the top tier right alongside the Lakers. And I had to laugh that, I think Dallas is much more interesting to watch this year than the Lakers are. Like, I mean,
Oh,
I love
absolutely.
LeBron. Like, I'm always going to find LeBron interesting to watch. But for me, I mean, LeBron and Luka, I should say, because I do really like Luka too. But for me, I think Dallas is they're going to be a really fun team to watch. With Cooper Flag, yeah, that was a really, really fun way that they were able to secure the number one overall pick in the lottery. And a
Yeah,
lot of
I
people
mean,
said it was rigged. But, I mean, hey, whatever. I think it's going to be a fun pairing to have Anthony Davis and Cooper Flag together. I don't know. Like, Flag is exciting. I don't know if he jumps off the page to me, like, as far as, like, wow, this is a number one overall pick that's going to be amazing. I think he's going to be really, really good. I don't think he's at the likes of, like, a Wembanyama or
there's another team.
Yeah, the
Spurs would be
Spurs.
interesting.
Yeah.
As we're sitting here and we're evaluating this,
Yeah, because the Spurs landed who's the guard that they got last year?
De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, they have De'Aaron
Well,
Fox.
and that's the thing about the Western Conference. You're looking at it like, wow, top to bottom. I mean, good God, somebody's gonna have to suck. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, somebody's gonna beat somebody, and I mean, somebody's gonna have to suck. But as we sit here, on the beginning of the NBA calendar, it's really hard for me as someone who's trying to be a prognosticator here to sit here and definitively tell you X team is gonna be awful and not worth tuning your eyes on.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I don't know who it's going to be, and it'll be fun to watch that play out. And, on these national doubleheaders on NBC or ESPN, I'm excited to see some of these Western Conference matchups because
I'm taking
for all the
Denver.
reasons we just said.
I'm going to take Denver this year, I think. I think Oklahoma City sticks out as they're the best right now. I think when it's all said and done this year, it's probably Denver had a nice offseason. They landed Cameron Johnson.
Right.
That was a really good addition. Yeah.
They traded away Michael Porter to the Nets.
Yeah.
That's a team I think will stink in the East, by the way. They'll be pretty bad. The Nets.
But I think overall Denver's probably the best. I think especially if Jokic plays at the level that he's been at the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to beat them, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the, I guess, whatever you want to call it, the chalk pick, the easy pick. I'll go ahead and say Oklahoma City will run it back, but like I wouldn't sit here next May in the studio and just go, wow, I'm baffled if they don't get there. Like, for all the reasons we just spelled out over the last 10 minutes or so. So
yeah, 100%. It's the West is a hoop lover's dream. It's a lot of fun. The East had the West as far as what was the better conference for maybe like a year or two, and then the West just reclaimed it back.
Yeah.
All the stars went back out West.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I am excited, like I said, because I think you're going into the season, and the NBA lacked this for a while where you go into the season, you knew on this very night, the night the season began, who was getting to the finals.
Yeah.
And it has not been the case for the last, I will go ahead and say, almost half decade we're pushing here where you
100%.
don't know. And I think this is another year where you don't know. And when that's the case, it makes it really, really exciting to view.
Well, I think it 100% has been the case since, I would say, 2019, because I think 2019, it was still clear the Warriors were going to win the West, but it wasn't totally clear that the Raptors were going to win the East that year.
Yeah, I would agree.
Even with Kawhi, like Kawhi being there, they were obviously very good. But you had a lot of fun teams. Boston was on the rise right then and there. You had the 76ers were as good as they have been in a long time that year. It took a Game 7 buzzer beater by Kawhi to beat them, send them home.
That.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that since there is a lot of parity in the NBA right now.
Which is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. So we're both very excited for that. We are running over on time. I do want to mention a couple other things here, and that is we've bitched for the last month or so, and finally the Browns went out and just kicked the crap out of somebody, and that was fun to watch. I was there. I sat through the pouring rain in the first half. And I think it was a little bit of, wow, watching the Dolphins in person. They are that bad, and Mike McDaniel's got to go. But I also give the Browns credit, too, because they were also 1-5, too. They were they were barely favorites in that game at home, and they got it done. The defense was outstanding. Shout out to Tyson Campbell, first home game as a Cleveland Brown, pick 6. And Quinshon Judkins, dare I say, do we have our next Nick Chubb? He looks outstanding. He's up for AFC Rookie of the Week. So shout out to the Browns. We've criticized you a lot, and rightly so, and now we'll praise you when you deserve it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good win. Do I think it does that much for them? No. I think they're going to go get their asses handed to them in New England this week.
That team's hot right now.
Yeah, which you'll be there for that.
Yes, I will.
Sad, because the last time we were there for a game, too, I think they lost 45-10.
It was 45-7, I believe.
Might have been Baker Mayfield's worst game as a Brown.
Either that or the Christmas Day game.
Yeah, or the win against Detroit.
All three are in the running.
There was a lot of bad games that Baker put up that people don't want to somehow forgotten about this year. But that's a different story for a different time.
Oh yeah, Baker. By the way, all you Baker lovers, last night not so pretty, was it?
Yeah,
it was pretty rough, wasn't it?
Yeah, Baker Mayfield will Baker Mayfield from time to time, but people love victory lapping on the Browns. So of course, whenever he does something good, or he has a nice little hot stretch, everyone's going to say, ha ha, Browns, you guys are idiots. Of course, we understand. We know.
And a couple other NFL news and notes. People were quick to write off the Lions. They showed you last night they're still a serious contender in the NFC. And people were quick to write off the Chiefs. I think people view the Chiefs as the modern-day Patriots, so they're just so ready for it to be somebody else. And the Chiefs showed you they ain't going anywhere. They kicked the crap out of Pete Carroll's Raiders, 31-0. And as Rob did point out here locally, it's going to be a tough game for the Browns. This is a hot New England team. Drake May's playing super well right now. They've won 4 in a row. They're 5-2. They are 6.5-point favorites.
Yeah, it's 2008 again with these AFC standings with Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, and New England all at the top.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It is. It's a throwback.
No, I think when you mention the Chiefs too, I find it funny. I don't know, whoever follows Barstool, Big Cat, and his rankings that he releases, his tiered power rankings every year or every week. His this week was Ohio State and Kansas City at the top, saying they're winning it all, don't fight it, which is just hilarious because I 100%. I do agree with that. I think Kansas City, yeah, people wrote them off. And they're obviously New England of 10 years ago where, they're done, and then they go and win 11 games. The AFC Championship goes through their home stadium, and then they get to the Super Bowl and they win it. Or they lose it like they did last year. I still think they're going to get there either way. Yeah,
versus I view the NFC is more entertaining because the Eagles don't look nearly as good as they did last year. The Lions looked dominant the other day. Obviously, people were riding Baker and Tampa majorly, but they have a lot of injuries too. Like, I don't want to just put it all on Baker. Like, his O-line's beat up. He lost Evans for the year. Godwin's been pretty much a non-factor this year. So, like, I'm not going to put it all on Baker. Like, what's going on around him has been a lot of controversy, or not controversy, but I should say more like a lot of I don't know what the word I'm looking for. A lot of challenging circumstances is what I'm looking for, the phrase rather. So anyway, real quick, we do it every week. Kevin and I do score prediction for the Browns. I said 17-14 last week against the Dolphins that they would win. Kevin predicted a loss. Neither of us, I mean, I was right about the win, but I didn't see it coming in that dominating of a fashion. How do you think things go in Foxborough on Sunday? Am I coming home and bringing us a winner when I fly home on Monday?
No, you won't. I think they'll lose. I'll say 27. I'll say 27-10.
Okay.
New England.
I'm somewhere close. I was gonna say 20-10 Patriots. I think the defense hangs in there, And then eventually Drake May gets his pound of flesh and leads a touchdown drive to put it out of hand late, and they add a field goal. And then that's where you get your 20-10 Browns. We are running super overtime, but I do want to shout you out for completing the Columbus Marathon half marathon rather.
Yeah, half marathon. Marathon comes next year.
Brutal conditions on Sunday morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Listen, I was out there at the Browns game, and I was bitching, sitting there drinking beer, watching the Browns dominate about the weather. I couldn't imagine running 13.1 miles in it. So congratulations to you and all your success on that. And second of the year, because you completed the Cleveland one last spring and you did the Columbus one. And in between, you mixed in a 5K, in which you did very well in.
10K.
So good for you.
10K, not to pat myself on the back.
Oh, sorry.
10K.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
But yeah.
No, I think I will say to the audience, if you're a sports fan, if you're a person that likes to attend events, athletic events, go watch a marathon. It's fun to watch. You get some of the, these athletes are some of the best athletes in the world, these endurance athletes. They're so fun to watch. And it can be really, really competitive, especially one like Columbus brings out a lot of former collegiate athletes. Cleveland, it's this kind of the same. Pittsburgh brings in some international competition. And, you got world majors. Our friend of the show, Phil Sprawn's also a big-time marathon runner, and he's completed 4 of the world majors now. So shout out to him. He just completed Berlin, and we'll be seeing him complete London and Tokyo here real soon. But I'm telling you, if you haven't done it, go watch a marathon. It is an incredible experience. Like I said, these athletes are some of the best in the world. It's really fantastic and amazing to watch what they can do. And I'm not nearly at the top of that pack yet. But, yeah, go watch one.
I'm going to say this. If you folks are watching on YouTube, you see my size. I sure as hell ain't no distance runner. But I went to 2 of these things this year. I went to Pittsburgh as a spectator here with my brother, and I obviously went to watch him and many of our mutual friends and, other people, Kevin's brother, amongst others, compete in Cleveland. And I got to tell you, folks, it even standing there on the sidelines, if you will, which is basically just blocks of streets and cities, but standing there on the sidelines, it is a hell of an experience. It's very exhilarating. You watch these people unload their bodies and give every last thing they have. Some collapsing at the finish line. It is really, honestly, when Rob here had asked me to go to Pittsburgh with him, kind of in the back of my mind, I'm like, just watch people run. That's what it is. But it is so much more than that all in one. It really is. And I went to 2 of them in 3 weeks this year. I was unable to go to Columbus due to a prior commitment on Saturday. But our parents went down there to watch him compete in this one. So,
yeah, it's an uplifting experience.
It is.
You're watching people compete for these goals that they've had for years and years, and they said they're going to work towards it. And, when they do finally cross the finish line, it's like just pure elation out of them. So, yeah, it's uplifting. Like Drum said, go watch one. You will not regret it. If you like if you like joy, everybody likes joy, right? Go watch a marathon. There's a lot of joy there.
Yep, and we need more joy in this world.
Yeah.
All right, real quick. I mean, there's not too much to say about Ohio State football. They beat the crap out of Wisconsin, 34-0. It's not a matter of if, but when Luke Fickell will get fired from Wisconsin. I know there's a huge buyout there, but my guess is behind the scenes, just like Penn State did with Franklin, they're figuring out a way to come up with that money and get him the hell out of there. And the Buckeyes, I said last week on the show, the only team I thought that could compete with them was Miami. Boy, was I wrong. Miami goes and loses to Louisville. So I think the Buckeyes at number 1. They're in a class of their own again, and I'm hoping, and I know as much as you are, back-to-back I think is a real possibility right now. They have a bye this week.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think Ohio State is the best team in the nation. I think they have, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the nation, the best defense in the nation, the best coach in the nation. They're clicking on all cylinders, and I don't want to say too much more because I think I'll jinx them, but
I-O.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to do that with a co-host. Kevin refuses. I really enjoy that, actually. All All right, and I agree with you on Julian saying he's getting better and better every single week. We hope we do the same here on the podcast. We hope the content gets better and better every week, and you enjoy the rendition here, the 51st one of the Cleveland Sports Realm. You can follow us on socials. That's Instagram, Twitter, and also TikTok at CLE Sports Realm. Also, this podcast is available to listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and then it's available to watch. You can actually watch it on Spotify too, or for those of you who don't have Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it's available on YouTube as well.
Yeah, go watch the content and go support us, please. And there is some exciting things we have coming your way. We've been working on some things behind the scenes, and we have some exciting stuff coming up. So stay tuned. You will not be disappointed. All I want to say is happy spooky season to everybody out there. Go watch a horror movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know producer Derek behind the camera. He's a big fan of spooky season. He's raising his eyebrows right now.
Yeah.
Thank you for your work behind the scenes, Derek. Rob, thanks again for filling as always. It's always nice to have you on the program. And you'll be appearing periodically throughout the next, here and there whenever you can.
Yep.
Stop by and fill in for me and Kevin. That's it for tonight. I know we ran a little long. We'll talk to you later on the 52nd edition of Cleveland Sports Realm. Go Cavs. Good night.
Peace out.